everyone, it's Julia. I have a really easy upcycle for you. I found this sweater at the thrift store and it has these wonderful sleeves and it just reminded me of Christmas. And so I want to do a reverse applique of a large Christmas tree on the front of it. I have this piece of plaid that I want to work with, but I don't have very much of it. It's just one strip. And so I'm going to be cutting this and stitching it together again. So I have enough basically for a Christmas tree shape. I am trying to match the plaids, but then I realized that that's just not going to work on the little one. And so I'm just going to stitch these, and the end you don't even notice that the plaids don't match. I have a piece of freezer paper and I cut that exact shape out on this freezer paper. And I'm going to be, the freezer paper has like a waxy side and then a paper side. And I'm going to be drawing on the paper side my Christmas tree. I want to stay within that shape, giving me about a 1/2 inch on the edges. And that's the reason why I wanted that freezer paper to be the exact shape of my fabric. I creased that freezer paper down the center so I know where the center is on that. And now I'm going to go ahead and with a marker and getting that shape. And then I'll be folding this and getting it that same shape on the other side so I can just see that a little bit better. And then tracing that. So I've got my Christmas tree shape, and I'm going to take my sweater now and I'm going to find the center front of my sweater. Just by taking the neckline and matching up my seams on that sleeve. These are raglan sleeves, which I love raglan sleeves. And so that I'm just matching up that seam. And the bottom has like a curved edge. This is a 2X size. It's long and it's really flowy, really comfortable, really a soft knit. This would make a wonderful idea for just for a Christmas tree sweatshirt as well. You can easily use a sweatshirt for this. Just creasing that on that center front. And now I'm going to take that, now that I have that center front somewhat marked so I can see where I'm going, I'm just going to take that piece of freezer paper and I'm going to just match my creases basically. And then I'm going to press this. This is going to adhere this freezer paper to the front of this knit. It's going to make my knit very stable, so when I'm stitching this, the stitches will be nice and even. It's not going to stretch at all. And then I'm going to easily be able to remove this paper. So I'm going to stitch right on my outline, and I don't show this at my sewing machine, but I do use I use like a stretch stitch or a really tiny stitch. You're going to want to make sure that that stitch is very tight or very short, so that the paper can easily be removed. I realize that I just need to get this one point in a bit. I don't have quite a 1/2 inch on that. So I'm just moving that top of that Christmas tree in a little, and then I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and do my stitching. I'm all stitched, and you can see what it looks like underneath too. I'm going to need to be able to see that design on the underneath side, and that's why I used red thread on both the top and the bottom. Now I'm very carefully removing this. I don't want to distort my stitches, but this really removed quite easily, and that's another reason why you want to use just a shorter stitch length when you're doing this kind of a thing. We'll definitely recommend using this freezer paper for this kind of a thing when you're doing a reverse applique. You do need to be able to see your stitches on the back side. I am going to say that I, for some reason, lost some of my footage, and so I'm going to have to do some explaining on what I did on this next step. After that paper is removed, I'm going to turn it over, and I am going to place my fabric so that the face down, and so that whole Christmas tree is covered up. And then I'm going to stitch from the front. I did a lot of pinning on that, and I stitched from the front, and so everything is stitched on now. And that design, that Christmas tree design is I just followed that exact stitching, just removing some of that extra fabric on the ends there. So this is all on the back side of my sweater, or my underneath side. And again, just removing some of that extra fabric on the corners. And then I can go ahead and turn this right side out again. I have my water-soluble pen now, and I'm going to be just doing some horizontal lines on this. These are going to be my stitching line. I'm going to go back to my sewing machine and stitch on these lines. They're approximately an inch apart. I'm going to use my red thread again, and I'm going to be using a short stitch. I want that stitch to be quite stable because this is a pretty loose knit, and it's going to have some fraying to it and some curling to it. But I love the way it's going to expose that underneath plaid. You have to be careful when you're doing this and use a sharp scissor. You just don't want to cut that plaid at all. Just removing or just cutting through the knit itself. And this is kind of what it looks like at the end here. I've got a couple pictures. I am going to put this in my Etsy store if anyone's interested, and the link will be down below. And again, it's like a size 2X. I think it'd be just a fun, casual Christmas shirt. Hope you have a great week, everybody. Bye for now.